If you look at history, the biggest violence was World War I, World War II. And neither of them had religion as a factor. There were Christians on the side of the British and there were Christians on the side of the Germans, both. But look at the USSR and China. They were the biggest experiments in human history of official atheism. And what was the result? 100 million corpses. So, yes, religion has led to violence, but the absence of religion has corresponded with far, far greater violence.
Do you believe in the presence of divine power? How do you reinforce your belief given claims in science?
Two things as far as divine power is concerned. For me, it's not just a matter of belief, it's a matter of experience. I don't claim any supernatural sightings or something or paranormal visions, but just look at the world around us. We'll see that there's so many things that are good. Sometimes people say that if God exists and God is good, why are bad things happening? Why are so many bad things happening? So my counter question is that if there is no God, then why do you think that bad things should not be happening? Why do you think that bad things should not happen to good people? The very question, why do bad things happen to good people, implies an assumption, a causal connection that good things should happen to good people and bad things should happen to bad people. But what is the basis of that assumption in the absence of any higher ordering principle? There's no basis for that. Everything would be just by the laws of nature, and the laws of nature don't have any moral value. That means, I can take this earphone and drop it, and gravity will act on it. If I were a monster, I could take a baby and drop the baby, and gravity would cause the baby to crash and die. Gravity has no morality to it. It's not immoral, it's not moral, it is amoral. So from a purely, there is science and there is scientism. Science is a way of looking at the world. And it's a very powerful way of looking at the world to understand the causal connections between various mechanistic forces in the world, various physical forces in the world. But scientism is an ideology which claims that science has a monopoly on knowledge. And actually speaking, scientism is not scientific. Because there is no scientific experiment that can prove that science is the sole way of acquiring valid knowledge. So scientism is ideology. So you could say another way of understanding scientific is science when it becomes imperialistic. Scientific imperialism is scientism.
Okay.
So
very nice.
So I would say there is no intrinsic contradiction. Science has its domain and we respect the domain of science. But there is much more to life than what science shows. So for example, this is a simple example to understand this. And nowadays there's so much insecurity about relationships. Say a boy proposes to a girl. Now, with all the scientific advancement that we have in the world, can science provide us a love-o-meter? Measure the boy proposes to a girl, the girl says, okay, let me put a love-o-meter on your heart. Do you really love me? That's fine. Or love-o-meter says positive, yes, I'll marry you. We can't do that because these are not things which are measurable. Love is real. Like if there were no love, we would not survive the first few months of our life. Our mother loved us and took care of us. So there are realities which are beyond the domain of science. And that is not disrespecting science. It is contextualizing science. So my understanding is that if you want to talk about a higher ordering principle, we look at the many things that are good in the world. And that does point towards a higher ordering principle. Now, why there is disorder? There are philosophical answers to that question. But the very fact that our existence is sustained by thousands of factors which are not in our control, which we don't even know how they happen, that indicates that there is some higher ordering principle. So if you consider digestion, you say, if I don't work hard, who's going to give me food? Well, okay, we work hard, we get food. But digestion is such a complex mechanism. One of my friends he's done his PhD in mechanical simulations of bodily organs. So scientists have been trying for a lot of time to manufacture an artificial digestive system. Now we have pacemakers, we have dialysis units, we have prosthetic limbs. But digestion is so complex that even with nanotechnology, if we had to make a digesting machine that would run into males, it's a complex system, and there is some higher organizing principle. I could go deeper into it, but my point is that there's no inherent contradiction between science and spirituality. That there is a higher ordering principle is a spiritual understanding, and science looks at how has that higher ordering principle ordered the world. So it is not that God is not the opposite of science and scientific explanations. God is the basis of science and scientific explanations.
I think this is our last question. Religions tend to be very autocratic and full of fanatics. I think they're looking at historical data. They have started so many wars, and they're not helping issues on gender equality or freedom of expression or even climate change. So why should anyone want to subscribe to them?
First answer I would give is that if you look at history, the biggest violence was World War I and World War II, as far as we recent recorded human history. And neither of them had religion as a factor at all. If at all you want to say religion as a factor, there were Christians on the side of the British and there were Christians on the side of the Germans both. So the war was not caused by religion, it was caused by non-religious causes. If we want to in terms of if we say religion has caused violence and war, then we should say that the places which are free from religion should have been paradise, should have been peaceful paradises. But look at the USSR and China. They were the biggest experiments in human history of official atheism. And what was the result? 100 million corpses. Without any major wars, the USSR and Chinese government itself persecuted and killed their own citizens. And 100 million is at least 2 times more than the combined toll of First World War and Second World War combined. So, yes, religion has led to violence, but the absence of religion has corresponded with far, far greater violence. So, I'm not saying that here that religion is all good, but the absence of religion often has led to worse things. So, the point is that we humans have a lower side to all of us, and that lower side can hijack anything. It can hijack a secular ideology. We could say that weapons, they are made for defense, but our lower side can use it and kill innocent people with it. So everything can be used. We can say World War I and World War II. Why were the casualties in World War II so much more than World War I? Not just because the war was bigger, because the weapons were worse or weapons were better, you can say. So do we blame science? Science made all these weapons, that's why science has caused so many deaths. No, we understand that science or religion or any worldview, any ideology, any thought system, they are resources for human beings. And human beings, if they let those resources be used by the lower side, that will lead to problems. So if tomorrow we woke up with none of the divisions in the world, all the divisions of the world were miraculously removed. There are no everybody belongs to the same nation, same ethnicity, maybe same religion, same race, same color, even same gender. Would the world be free from problems? Tomorrow morning we would wake up like that, but tomorrow afternoon we would find some new reasons to start fighting with each other. So, so the point is that we need to rise toward higher consciousness. And religions were meant to be pathways for raising one's consciousness. The practices and the teachings of the religions were meant for that purpose. But over a period of time, there are people with lower consciousness who are interested more in the material facilities provided by religious organizations than their spiritual purposes, and they subvert the purpose of religion. So, should we be a part of religion? My understanding is rather than thinking of religion as associated with some church or some religious institution, we see that as a set of resources. And are those resources serving their purpose? If they are, well, yes, we accept them. If those resources are not serving their purpose, then we keep a distance from them. So it's for us to raise our human consciousness. And whatever resources help us to do that, we use them. When people become fanatical, that is the second point I'll make and conclude is that, see, religions are meant to provide us pathways for navigating the complexity of life. And to that extent, it's like a map. Now, a map is helpful for us to go on a journey, but a map is not the territory. If we had to go on a 10-mile journey, and if you had a 10-mile map, it would be accurate and useless. Isn't it? So, a map by definition and by necessity, is a simplified model of the territory. But if somebody equates the map with the territory, then they miss out on the territory. So what happens is religion is meant to provide the map, but many people start equating the map with the territory. And that is when anything that doesn't fit on the map, they think it can't exist. It shouldn't exist. So that's how fanaticism comes in. That a map is provided for us to navigate reality. But if somebody says, okay, this is not on the map, so therefore this should not exist in the territory, destroy it. So for example, some religious teachers may say that this is the way to God. And they may say that you just follow this way. Now, the purpose of such statement is to create a focus. But say if a patient has gone to a dozen doctors and they go to a good doctor finally, and the doctor gives some treatment, and the patient says, but I went to this doctor and this doctor said that, and I went to that doctor and that doctor said that, and I went to that doctor and that doctor said that. This doctor will say, just forget what all other doctors have said, just follow what I am doing, telling you, and you'll get cured. So similarly, in every religious tradition, there are statements which are meant to create focus. But this patient may, oh, my doctor said all other doctors are bad, follow only this doctor. That leads to fanaticism. How we use the map to interpret the territory, how we take the statements and how we absolutize the statements. So fanaticism does not come from religion. Fanaticism comes from the human lower side misunderstanding or misappropriating religion. But if we see religion as a resource for raising human consciousness, then many of the practices and principles of the world's great religious tradition have value for helping us raise our consciousness.
Beautiful. So thank you for joining us on the Monk Mode, and we look forward to seeing you for the next edition.
Thank you. Happy to be here.